The Olympic is undoubtedly the biggest platform in the world of athletes from every different country and all different sports to come together in one place and showcase their talents. But there are a lot of things that you probably didn't know about the famous games. Welcome back to another video on the channel, guys. And today we're looking at some unknown facts about the Olympic. Number 10. The first Paralympic. In 1960, in Rome, was the first time the Paralympic Games were hosted. The motive behind this was basically to get the war veterans a chance to compete in the games and rehabilitate. Prior to this, disabled athletes would take part in the Olympic Games, but it was seen as unfair that they should compete against fully able-bodied athletes who had the clear advantage. Despite this, George Easer has famously won 6 medals in the 1904 Games with a wooden leg. But the Paralympics said, "We're specials and offer a chance for people with disabilities to compete on fair ground with each other." Like Ibrahim Hamato, who created history by becoming the world champion for table tennis without hands. He played only with his mouth. Number 9. The national flags and the Olympic rings. The famous Olympic rings have now become so popular that anyone who sees them would immediately know that they belong to the Olympics. It was Baron Pierre de Coubertin, the founder of the Olympic movement, who came up with the idea of the 5 interloping ring symbol. He was very intentional about the colors that he chose for the rings. If you unite each of the colors of the ring, blue, green, black, yellow, and red are all colors that you find on every single flag of every single country. At least one of these 5 colors is present on the flags, and his idea of the Olympics being a platform for countries to come together in harmony and showcase their talent, laying aside all differences, is what birthed this idea. We bet that's something you hadn't noticed before. Number 8. The Olympic torch relay is not that ancient. In contrast to popular belief, the Olympic torch relay is not an ancient tradition. Whenever the Olympic season draws near, everyone loves to watch the torch relay and wonders who will get the honor of carrying the Olympic torch. The torch relay, though, wasn't always a part of the Olympics. It actually has its roots in the highly controversial 1936 Berlin Olympics. The relay was actually conceived as a tool of propaganda for the Nazi Party to showcase their supposed Aryan race superiority. The one behind it was chief organizer of the Olympic game, Karl Diem. The relay was then passed through Greece, Bulgaria, Yugoslavia, Hungary, Austria, and Czechoslovakia, who at the time didn't know that they would be under the rule of the Marxists within 10 years. What has been seen as a silly little rally on the part of Nazi Party turned out to be a harsh reality that changed the course of the world forever. It is therefore a surprise that the traditions is still followed even after knowing what the ideations behind it. Number 7. The first Olympic drug suspensions. The Olympics are extremely strict and rigid with their rules grading the use of drugs, steroids, and enhancers. It is not common that as the Olympic game approaches, athletes are tested. Some are disqualified and there is always some scandal or controversy brewing. But back in the day, the first ever suspensions of an athlete from the games didn't happen until the year 1968. It was Hans Gunnar Ligenwall, a Swedish pentathlete who was tested positive for alcohol. Apparently, the Swede has one too many beers just before the pentathlon, and upon being tested, his alcohol levels were very high, and the Olympics have a clear ban on alcohol. He was then suspended from the competitions. Now, that's not the best thing to be remembered for. It was quite the scandal at that time, while today it's just another article in the newspaper. Number 6. The youngest Olympian ever was only 10. Normal 10 years old would probably be playing video games, doing their homework or watching some TikTok videos. But back in the day, when the Olympics didn't have a ban on children participating, it was young gymnast Dimitrios Laundras who competed in 1896 and showed that age has never been an issue. The Greek gymnast wowed everyone with his amazing routine and performances. Beside that, Marjorie Gestring becomes the youngest female individual to hold a gold medal. She won the medal for springboard diving, while Kusuo Kitamura, only 14, is the youngest male individual to win a gold, and he did so for swimming. Hopefully, modern-day Olympics will see more participations from younger athletes across the world. Number 5. London 2012 Olympics was special for equality. There is no doubt in mind that the London Olympic in 2012 were one of the most entertaining and fun games to watch. The opening ceremony even saw the Queen and James Bond himself participating in the festivities. But what stood out among all of this is that for the first time ever, female athletes were not barred from any sport in the game. It was a historical move, and each country made sure to send a female athlete for every sport. Truly, anyone who watched it knows how empowering the moment was for women all around the world, and has since given so much hope to female athletes who were previously only allowed to compete in certain sports. Number 4. children used to compete in the Olympics. The modern-day Olympics are far different than what they previously used to be. Nowadays, only the best of the best athletes from around the world are allowed to make it into the Olympics. It has been criticized, however, that it leaves out a majority of talented people around the world who don't have access to this kind of training, equipment, and sponsorships that people from wealthier countries are able to get. The IOC has now put restrictions on who can compete in the game, even though originally even amateurs were allowed to compete. Young people were allowed to compete in the Olympics, but the IOC has put a certain age restrictions now, which doesn't allow just anyone to compete. However, these moves have been reconsidered since, and steps are being taken to accept younger athletes. Number 3. There was a 1,500-year gap. The Ridgeback Olympics date all the way back to 776 BC and right up to 392 AD. Just saying that makes it sound so old. Just like the Olympics that are held nowadays, they were also conducted every 4 years, but back then it was done in conjunction with a festival that was celebrated by the Greeks to honor their god Zeus. They also have 3 other games that would honor Poseidon, Alice, and Apollo. But when the Roman Emperor Theodosius had come into power, he completely abolished the Olympics in an attempt to get rid of the pagan religion and pagan gods in favor of bringing Christianity to the world. Therefore, there was a 1,500-year gap before the Olympics made a comeback, and the modern-day Olympic took place in Athens in 1986. Number 2. Biting the medal tradition. Whenever you see the pictures of the winners standing at the Olympic stage, if you notice, there is always a peculiar pose that everyone always does, and that is biting the medal. Have you ever wondered to yourself why the athletes do that? Well, it actually happens to date back to the days where merchants used their teeth to bite down on coins and precious articles to check whether the precious metal was real or not. Now, that is quite an interesting tradition, but it is not necessarily a rule that all have to do the same. But with every other athletes following suit, it has become some sort of an unspoken rule that you just do while posing with your medal. And finally, number 1. The gold medals are made out of silver. Now, this is something you definitely didn't know about the Olympics, and it is absolutely going to blow your mind. Did you really think the gold medals given to the winners are made of solid gold? Well, they should be, right? Well, sadly enough, they're not. In fact, gold medals have not been made out of solid gold since the year of 1912. The Olympic gold medals being awarded to the winners nowadays are actually mostly made of silver with 6-gram coating of gold on the outer layer. This is the basic standard that has to be met by the Olympic Charter. In fact, the Summer Olympics in Tokyo this year have medals that made from recycled electronics. If the medals being given out at the Tokyo Olympics were made of pure gold, then they would be averaging at about $32,000 a piece. Now that you know, we guarantee that you'll never be able to look at the Olympic medals in the same way. And now, with that being said, it's time to end our video here, but before that, we want to know how you feel about this. Do you watch the Olympics? What is your favorite events? You know what to do. See you in the comment sections below. We hope you enjoyed the video. Please give like and subscribe to our channel, and we will see you soon. Thank you for watching.